Now in my last couple hunter build videos, you guys have talked about not really enjoying grapple all that much. Maybe not liking that grapple playstyle, or don't really enjoy playing that aggressively in harder content. It just doesn't suit you, which is totally fine. Well, today I have one of the more easier hunter builds to play that might just make your time in difficult content much better. It may be easier to play, but it still brings that power and crowd control that we really need in these difficult rooms of enemies. Essentially what we're doing here is looping our Super and Transcendence form. We want to be able to pop our Super in a room full of enemies. Gain Transcendence literally within seconds of doing so, as you can see in the gameplay. Then when our Super is over, we should have at least 3/4 or more of that Super back. That's thanks to the outgoing damage we can deal with this rocket pulse rifle. And then we just pop Transcendence and dish out damage to get that last little bit of Super we need back in a matter of seconds. Then we just repeat this process. Once Transcendence is out, pop the Super and do the same thing again. As you can see, I'm solo in Mythic content and I can use my Super and my Transcendence form in every room I walk into because of the way we have the build set up and how everything feeds into this loop. But before we jump into the details, we have a quick sponsor. In this day and age, we all have a life on social media and the internet. This is especially true for gamers like us that play a variety of games. This means we're always connected to the internet, and that can be quite scary with cyber criminals and all the personal information they can obtain about you online. Well, that's where ExpressVPN really helps us all out. ExpressVPN stops hackers from stealing your data by creating a secure encrypted tunnel between your device and the internet. It's very easy to use. You just fire up the app and click one button to get protected. And it works on all devices, phones, laptops, tablets, and more. Also, Netflix has a different library of TV and movies in each country. Same for Disney+, Hulu, and much more. So ExpressVPN lets you change your online location. This happens by changing your IP address to any of the 105 countries. And if you do that, that means you can watch thousands of new shows on Netflix and also on the other streaming platforms. So great for all of you that use those different platforms for your streaming entertainment. For me personally, it keeps all my personal information secure while putting out the best YouTube videos I possibly can for you all. So I really urge you guys to stay safe out there and find out how you can get up to 4 months for free by clicking the link in the description below. That's expressvpn.com/plunder. So please stay safe out there, Guardians, and thank you so much to ExpressVPN for sponsoring today's video. I'm going to show you guys this ability rotation in the tower, just so you understand how simple this is, but how well it really works. Use your Ascension at first. This would just leave your clone in the air, and I should have been doing this more often at the beginning, to aggro all the enemies onto that clone. Then you fire off your tether, throw your one single arc bolt grenade in there, and then throw your one single threaded spike melee into the group. If you land both of those into the group of enemies, it's an instant light fill of your Transcendence bar and an instant dark fill of the Transcendence bar. So now you've already become Transcendent within a matter of seconds. Then just go about using a strong weapon, and that's where I want to talk about Mint Retrograde, and let's go over this the old-fashioned way on our Guardian. So for Mint Retrograde, there's something we can do with our ammo generation stat that really helps this weapon out. First off, you have Envious Arsenal. If I take this Mint Retrograde off right here, put on this one, right? You can see that our ammo generation down here is at 24. So not very good. Now let's switch back over to this one, and we're up to 54. So a lot better. This is close to exotic primaries, technically. That's because we have the abundant ammo in here. This gives us plus 10, so make sure to slot that in. And then we also have Envious Arsenal. This gives you a plus 20 to ammo generation. So these two combined do a lot for you. Then over here on your helmet, you just slot a special ammo finder. Basically, from the testing that I've done, this gives you about plus 20 to ammo generation. So now we're up to 70 ammo generation here. And then we also slot a strand ammo generation, increase the ammo generation of strand weapons. Since obviously Mint Retrograde is strand, it just allows the ammo generation to happen every 5 or 6 kills with this weapon, even if you're using this weapon. Then on your boots, you go over here and slot a strand scavenger, so you're getting a plus 4 or plus 5 to your ammo from every brick you pick up. So if you're getting a brick every 5 to 6 kills, and you're getting the same amount back on your boots, it allows you to keep ammo up in Mint Retrograde very easily. As you can see in the stats in the bottom left, we aim for at least 100 super. I went a little over, but you just need to hit 100. You also want to put your melee up to around 70, your class to around 70, and then if you can push your weapons up to around 100, that'd be great as well. Your grenade up even further if you can. As you can see in my stats, I could not hit what I wanted to hit. I don't have that sweet tier 5 armor yet, but we're getting there. And we're also going to bump the grenade up stat from a mod that we're using. Obviously, take Deadfall as your super. We take Threaded Spike that I talked about and Arc Bolt Grenade. This is for our light right meter, this is for our darkness speeder. If stuff is tethered and they're taking a 30% debuff, right? Tether groups the enemies up and it allows these to hit a big group of enemies. That's an instant transcendence bar for you. For aspects, I do like Ascension as the first one. The second one could be whatever you choose to use, but I still like clones. You could do Stylus Executioner for survivability, but I would take either of these two for survivability over the extra damage of Gunpowder Gamble and Winter Shroud procs. You guys know both what Ascension and Threaded Spectre does. Pretty simple. When you use this in the air, it leaves the clone in the air for you, and that just allows all the enemies to aggro towards it. Now for our fragments, pretty standard across the board. Protection for that damage reduction, and we get a plus 10 melee out of this. We are going to take Facet of Dominance. It allows this to jolt targets. It's just another source of jolt. You could drop this if you want, since our Ascension does jolt. So if you're doing easier content and you're on top of groups of enemies, then you don't really need jolt from the Arc Bolt. But if you're further away from groups of enemies, I like to have that jolt application available. Facet of Dawn for Radiant from our powered melees. You could also take this off if you want, because you can get Radiant from the artifact, but I was not doing that with this build. The next one would be Facet of Purpose. This just gives us Void Overshields when we pick up Orbs of Power, thanks for this fact that we're using a Void Super. And then Facet of Hope. If we have an elemental buff, our class ability recharges faster. It just allows us to use Ascension and Threaded Spectre more often. And if you have 2 buffs, that's even increased. And Ascension gives you that buff off the bat with Amplified, which is really nice. Now for weapons, we went over Mint Retrograde. In your energy slot, you guys take whatever you want here. Third iteration is really good still. And then in the heavy, you take, again, whatever you want. But I would take Mint Retrograde because it hits really hard. We get a ton of ammo for it. And the more outgoing damage you do, the quicker you're going to get your super back. For our exotic, we'll take Orpheus Rig. This is a tried and true exotic for the hunter, and it still is just as good today as it was however many years ago. Provides ability energy for each target tethered by deadfall anchors. This is how we get our grenade back pretty much instantly after we tether a group of enemies. And then that ability energy is also considered your super too. So we get half that super back pretty much instantly. And then the outgoing damage we deal with Mint Retrograde gives us at least another quarter or more while we're finishing off those enemies that are tethered. Then we pop that Transcendence form because we instantly have it, and that'll give you the rest of that quarter of super that you need. For the mods on that build, again, pretty simple. Special ammo finder in the helmet, we already went over. Strand Siphon and a Void Siphon, just to match the weapons that I'm using. On the gauntlets, I did take double Focusing Strike. I was using my melee quite often, and I wanted that to boost the regen of my class ability, because that class ability leaves clones, and I want it up as much as possible. I also took a grenade font here, so that means our grenade went up to 52 instead of 32 every time we had an armor charge. For our chest piece, a strand ammo generation, and then 2 of your reduction mods, so just match whatever activity you're doing for that extra damage resistance. On the boots, that strand scavenger that we talked about, I also took a strand weapon surge. It'll just allow our primary and our heavy to hit 10% harder because those were both strand. And then a recuperation for a little extra health when we pick up that Orb of Power, combined with the Void Overshield we get when we pick up the Orb of Power. We'll take a time dilation to make those armor charges last longer, powerful attraction so our Ascension can pick up an orb if we're close enough, and Reaper so after we use Ascension and we get a single kill with Mint Retrograde, we spawn an extra Orb of Power. So this pops out an Orb of Power on your first kill. The second kill would be a Strand Siphon popping out of Orb of Power. And that means you get a full Void Overshield if you pick up both those Orbs of Power from proccing both of these. For artifact mods, not anything too crazy here. Pretty much your standard setup. I actually wasn't taking advantage of hardly any of this. So honestly, this build will work great whether you're doing anything with your artifact or not. So you can set that up however you guys like. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a great rest of your day.